Hello, and welcome to the movie analysis of the movie They Live from 1988 with the director John Carpenter and starring Rowdy Roddy Piper. This is a movie that you actually have to ask the question about, was this a science fiction film or was this a documentary, as Rowdy Roddy Piper suggested just before he died? What's also interesting is that I've tried to put this video out 10 times. I have tried to make this 10 times in the last couple of hours today. And each time in trying to make it, something has either caused a problem, whether it be the equipment, something with the setup, there's been people cutting grass outside. Constantly, I've not been able to get this done. This is about the 10th time I'm trying to do it. So it's indicating that there is an energy trying to block this from being made. So, which is very interesting because the movie itself is all about the control of reality and the main character awakening to that control, awakening to see that he and all other humans are sleeping. Because the title of the movie comes from a slogan that was on the wall of the church, which was the resistance center and is the resistance slogan. And it's not just they live, it's they live, we sleep. So it's very important. The whole quotation is they live, we sleep. And we will see how the main character handles his awakening into things within the dream and possibly ultimate reality by the end of it. So this is Rowdy Roddy Piper, and he plays the character of John Nada, Nada being the Spanish word for nothing. So he's very similar to Captain Nemo in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The name Nemo also means nothing. You have the name of Neo in The Matrix, which also has a semblance of sort of, again, it's one changed around. And thus the main character in the film is unnamed, thus represents everybody. Similar to a mythology, the mythological creature, the person with being talked about in the myth is not a person in the myth, it's about the person reading the myth. They are representing us. So Rowdy Roddy Piper is just a character in a myth, but the character is really us. We are him, and we can go with him on the same journey of awakening that he's taking if we wish to follow and do it ourselves. Now the movie begins after about a 10-minute long opening credits in which Piper is just walking around the city. The first bit of actual dialogue comes when he meets a preacher on the street, a blind preacher. And he keeps talking about how they have everyone under control. And he doesn't, of course, explain they. He doesn't explain what the control is. And as you can see, very few people are standing around listening to the preacher. Most would just continue walking by, considering him crazy. But Piper stops. Piper has enough awareness to say, okay, something's different going on here. Let me just take it in and see what it is. At this point, I don't think he's making any judgments. He's just curious. The preacher's last words we hear are, "Wake up, please wake up." So that tells us right away this is a wake-up story. It tells us also, because of the intensity of his words, that there is a time factor to this, that we don't have a lot of time. We have to wake up, and we have to wake up now. All of a sudden, the police arrive to haul off the crazy blind preacher, which doesn't make sense. He's seemingly not causing any trouble. There's almost nobody listening to him anyway. He doesn't really have any kind of serious message. So obviously, the people arresting him and stopping him from talking are connected to the they who has everyone under control. Piper's obviously an outcast coming from another city. He attempts and finally does get a job on a construction site and gets a friend named Frank. The name Frank is interesting because it's also the main character of the bunny rabbit in Donnie Darko, a movie we're going to be talking about in an upcoming video. Frank takes Nada back to the village, and at the village, which is obviously a very almost dilapidated tent house, there seems like to have been some sort of massive economic or social depression that has caused a large number of the working class to not even be able to afford homes. That's kind of the impression I think they're giving with this sort of working camp. While they're in the camp, they start watching television. And on the television with some other people, there's a hack. A hacker has broken into the TV broadcast trying to send a message out to people, which includes, "You are locked in a trance." And again, this is an incredible message of the movie, is that we as humans are hypnotized by this external force, and that we don't even know that we are in a trance. It's also interesting that television is one of the easiest ways to indoctrinate and pass on subliminal messages, and a large number of things that are in television programs, the news, anything else that goes on TV is designed to hit the subconscious of the person. So your conscious mind is missing it, your subconscious is picking it up. Piper's still unsure about everything, but he notices that an odd church across the street is just playing a recording of a mass. There's no actual mass going on. And he finds that it's actually a front for the resistance. He's not sure what the resistance is. He just sees this sign that says, they live, we sleep. He finds a box of sunglasses. Soon the church is attacked, the camp is destroyed, but he goes back, grabs the box of sunglasses that he had hidden, and goes onto the street. The movie really begins when he puts on the sunglasses, and it's two of the most important scenes in the movie. One is the sunglasses scene, and the other is the scene with the fight. And with the sunglasses on, he's going to wind up seeing something that he didn't know that he would be seeing. And the sunglasses metaphor is very interesting. It was also a part of the Matrix movie. They were all wearing sunglasses. It's a method, of course, the sunglasses block out sunlight. So symbolically in this case, what the sunglasses do is they're blocking out the commands and programming of the system. So you can see beyond what the system wants you to see. At the same time, the metaphor of the sunglasses will also protect anyone from seeing your own eyes directly, in a sense can protect you of knowing what you see. But in this aspect, we're seeing that it's blocking out the signals, and he can see. And what he sees is that everywhere he finds advertising or information or anything else, underneath it is a subliminal command. And those subliminal commands are things like this: obey, buy, consume, watch TV, stay asleep. So the sunglasses reveal the programming that is hitting the subconscious, of which the consciousness never picks up. While he's also wearing the sunglasses, he also winds up seeing first person that's not a person. They're described as aliens in the program. He looks more like a robot, but it's the first thing that happens is he sees people that are not people. And in this case, the first thing that the robot type thing says to him is, "What's your problem?" Because he's staring at it. And I think this is kind of it's more of a symbolic statement, not a question, more of a, why are you not in awe or in fear of me like the rest? Piper is somehow looking different than everyone else at him because, of course, he sees. As he goes along, he sees more and more of these people, whether he's out shopping and walking on the streets. Finally, one of them somehow recognizes that Piper can know who they are. He says, "I've got one that can see." And that's a very important statement again, because in Carlos Castaneda's teachings, for example, one of the most important steps of your knowing is the process called seeing, being able to see something at a deeper level of reality. They also they call out an alarm by speaking into these watches, which are quite unique because the watches not only provide communication, they also later in the film provide the ability to transport themselves into an underground world. It's also a message that as soon as the dream starts to know that you might be figuring out, that you might be understanding layers of the reality that you're in, the dream, Maya, the goddess of this reality, is going to come back and is going to try to stop you. For example, the difficulty I've been having just to try to get this video done today. This is a really good example of Maya fighting back with somebody attempting to reveal something about the dream. Maya doesn't like having anything about its dream state revealed to people. It doesn't take him long to get a headache from wearing the glasses after he sort of escapes from the people who are chasing him. And the headache is symbolic of how difficult truth is to accept for the reasoning mind. And I know myself in many cases when I've had really intense understandings and knowledge that's come to me, I have had days of headaches from it because, again, it's the mind processing that which it can't process. What then comes in the movie is the longest fight scene in movie history. And when I first watched the movie, I thought the fight scene was incredibly stupid because it takes like 10 minutes. It's also hard to understand because he's not fighting the enemy. He's not fighting some alien. He's not fighting someone who's controlling him. He's fighting his best and, in fact, his only friend. He and his friend are beating themselves to a pulp because Piper wants him to wear the sunglasses and Frank won't wear them. it took me many views and to finally understand that the fight is one of the movie's greatest metaphors. I mean, he wants his friend to see he's going to take whatever beating it takes to get Frank to put the sunglasses on. And this is very symbolic to, as soon as we know anything about reality, as soon as we try to go to the closest people around us, friends and family, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be grateful we brought them this information. They're going to attack us. They're going to fight back. Minds do not want to see that everything that they believed is a giant lie. That's happening right now. If you start to see through what's going on in our current reality right now, which is spiritual warfare, I will make a video on this coming up, but we are in a type of spiritual warfare. And if you try to share that with someone else who's a friend of yours, expect kickback. Expect to have them be like Frank, and they're going to fight you. And you don't have a choice to either back away and not take the punishment, just forget talking to them, or are you going to be like Piper and keep going until, in this case, Frank puts on the sunglasses. And when Frank finally sees, they manage to escape, they get to a rooming house, and now they discuss the world situation there. And now they can discuss the situation because they both can see. They are both, in this sense, awakened. And Piper begins to tell a story which seems like his past, of how crazy his father was. And this scene is also important because Piper's not talking about his own father. His father in this is symbolic of the state, symbolic of the system, symbolic of Big Brother. And he says, a long time ago, things were different. But then he changed. He became evil. So I ran away. But I've got news for him. There's going to be hell to pay because I ain't Daddy's little boy anymore. So this is also important. Piper's now saying he's not going to follow the system anymore. He's not going to do what he's told. He's not going to believe what he's expected to believe. He is going to break free, and he is going to try to live in a free state, away from the programming, away from the dictates of his mind. As the movie starts to reach its conclusion, they wind up getting into an underground world. And in the underground world, they run into a transit point. I was going to talk about this hollow earth theory, but I don't think it's that important. We'll just move on to what you're looking at now. That's Piper and Frank coming to an elitist party in this underground world. And at the party, the top level humans, the 1%, are being thanked for their help by their alien robot leaders, with promises of being given more money and more importance. And this is also very symbolic, because you have to ask yourself, how does the very small elitist group of people have all the money, and in fact year by year wind up getting more money, more control, more power, and the rest of the people get less power, less control, less money? Things get worse and worse and worse for the average person. This party is highly likely a very unique and correct description of how things are actually run in this current reality we experience. While they're at this party, one of the elitists in a tuxedo comes over to greet them and says, "Oh, you boys are with us now?" Now, I never thought about this, again, closely the first couple of times I saw the movie, but why would an elitist in a tux come and greet these obvious scruffy nobodies who are not wearing fancy clothes and, in a sense, look like they don't really belong there? He must know them, and I realized he does know them. The man in the tux was seen earlier in the movie as one of the men sitting on the couch watching the television when the TV got hacked. And he was discussing how the hacker was crazy. The hacker was saying something wrong. So here we have this member of the elite moving within and living as a disinformation agent within the normal population. So it's also a very interesting metaphor, very rarely picked up. Most people don't notice it. They did give him a very unique, strange, sort of scraggly voice. And it's through the voice that you can tell, and I think they chose an actor with a voice like that as a way of hopefully the audience making the connection that the character we see twice in the movie is the same person. In the course of he's showing him around. He shows him the underground world, as I say. He shows them how things work, how rich they're going to get, how important they're going to be. In the midst of all that, he runs back into his love interest, Holly, who he had seemed to, at random, kidnap in order to escape. But she becomes very important as the movie goes on. First, we have her name, which is Holly, which is also similar to Hollywood. And Hollywood is a Druidic name, It's a place where the Druids would meet. They would meet in the holly. They would meet in the wood of hollies and the wood of oaks. And it's no surprise that the word Hollywood was chosen for the dreamlike mind control movie center to be named. When you see her, notice that she's given very odd eyes. The eyes are always strained. I think here where she's actually got the gun on them. You can see again, they've given her, Meg Foster, these very unique eyes. I think she said she had to wear special contacts or something. So this is not her regular eyes here. They've actually, John Carpenter has done something to enhance them. Inviting yet sinister at the same time. Holly's continually betraying him in the movie. Every single time they come across, she betrays him. And the last betrayal is here on the rooftop. She's just killed Frank. She's now got the gun on Piper, but she doesn't kill him. She doesn't instantly kill him. Instead, she tells him to come inside with me. The helicopters are already on the roof. They've got the lights on them. She doesn't kill him. Come inside with me. And this is a symbolic meaning. She doesn't mean come inside the building. She means come inside her vagina. Again, her message is, with the gun on him, is to forget about the aliens, forget about helping humans, forget about finding more information, forget about becoming the truth. Just come inside and have a little bit of pleasure with me. Give it all up for a little bit of pleasure, whether it's money, whether it's importance, or whether it's sex with her. And this is the moment when Piper shoots her. And this is extremely important because he's not just symbolically killing the person. He's killing all of the attachments to the dreams, the ideas of importance, the ideas of pleasure, the ideas that any promise within the dream will distract him from the truth. You might say it's at this moment he has become awake. He has decided that the need for truth and the need for doing what's right is more important than any pleasure the dream can possibly give him. Truth is his walking stick from here on out. What's also interesting is at the end of the movie, Piper has shot the transmitter and the signal that is sent out. And if you notice, again, all through the movie, we see these beaming, these signals. And again, that's very unique for today. How many towers do we see in every single place on the earth? What exactly are they broadcasting? What exactly is going out? In this case, in the movie, what they are broadcasting is a very specific covering, a very specific hypnotic signal that allows humans to not be able to see the truth of the controllers. The sunglasses and somehow were blocking out these signals, but this is exactly where they were coming from. He blows up the tower, and as the tower blows, as he winds up dying as he blows up the tower. The police and the helicopters shoot him, but he does blow up the tower. And just as this happens, all of a sudden, the spell is broken by the regular population, and now certain people of the population can be seen as aliens by everybody. And what's interesting is one of the first things that's clicked on is a television. On the television is a reporter saying not to listen to John Carpenter, who is the writer-director of this movie. So very standard to tell you that the system is telling you not to listen to anything that might reveal the system. The reporter also says not to listen to George Romero. He was the director of Dawn of the Dead, who was not making movies about zombies. Symbolically, the zombies in his movies were the average human being turned into zombies by the education and by the consumer system. That we are zombies because we no longer think, we just consume and we do what we're told. Once everyone the interesting thing about everyone seeing the zombies because of the Piper disrupting the signal is also important because it indicates that maybe a sound or a vibrational frequency is somehow projected onto the earth to keep humans and other creatures at a lower vibrational rate. Another way of symbolically putting on the sunglasses can be raising the vibrational state high enough that you can break the hypnosis. This may also be why so many sacred sites seemingly are turned off. A lot of the world's sacred sites are either destroyed or have been altered to such a great degree, whether they be Palenque or Teotihuacan or Stonehenge is a site, for example, that was completely torn down and rebuilt. We don't know what it was rebuilt with. It was rebuilt with stones that at least look similar to the original stones. We don't know if they were the real stones or not. I can do one on Stonehenge as well coming up. But it's very interesting to wonder if somehow these ancient sites are functioning as they're supposed to function, and if we could get the ancient sites that still exist in the world back to operating at their full energy capacity, that might be the same as Piper blowing up the transmitter at the end of the movie to break whatever vibrational spell we have upon us. The last thing Piper does in the movie is giving the finger to the helicopter, and this is a symbol, but you have to ask two things. First of all, the symbol gives you have great power when you do it, and you know you've done this a few times when somebody's been driving and they piss you off or whatever. You do get a sense of energy, a sense of power from doing it. But I think there's a second message in here, and that he's also that the symbol is describing oneness. It's not just it's you can say fuck you to duality because you're revealing oneness, and when you reveal oneness, duality can never trump one. Two is always going to be an error. One is always going to be true. It's interesting. Here I am, as I'm talking about oneness. Here comes the lawnmower sounds coming back again, trying to disrupt the video right at the most important part. So I'm going to keep talking through it. I'm not going to let it try to stop me here. So he is revealing what is the most important aspect of the movie right here at the end, that he is in some way touching oneness. He's touching absolute reality, and nothing in the dream can affect him. And is reminding, since he is us, remember, we are Piper. We are the ones that are going through his journey of awakening, that it's the same thing. If we can drop our consciousness back into absolute reality and break out of the attachment to duality and attachment to this world, we too will have nothing to fear, as Piper has nothing to fear. Even though he's dying, even though his life is ending, his fear is completely gone. So, that's the movie They Live by John Carpenter. I highly recommend watching it, and I highly recommend you probably have to watch it 3 or 4 times in order to really start to begin to get all the detail, all the depth. It's been set up as kind of a corny, goofy movie at times. Sometimes the acting is really average, and I think that's all a smokescreen to kind of get you from not really asking, how honestly is the movie talking about reality? 100%, 80%, 60%? It's certainly not 0 or 20%. There's certainly a lot about this movie that is describing reality in a very clear and honest way. And you're just going to have to go through it yourself, see the messages, see the symbols, see the information that's here, and decide for yourself how much of this movie is a movie, how much of it is a documentary. We have some movies coming up that I'll be doing in the next few months, including Donnie Darko and American Beauty, showing how they're similar movies. We'll be going through the movies of Stanley Kubrick, or at least 2 or 3 of them, to go through Kubrick's movies and discuss the many things that he's showing in them. And I'll also be looking at the television show Lost to see what Lost was revealing to us, and in fact what Lost could have revealed to us and decided at the end to hide from. So that's what's coming up. Hope you enjoy these movie analysis. I find them very interesting because movies are something we can all talk to, we can all relate to, we can all discuss. Once we've seen a scene in a movie, we can use that as a discussion point. I remember, sorry for going on here, but I remember getting a group of people together, maybe 10 or maybe 15 years ago actually, to watch the movie Pleasantville. And the movie Pleasantville became a fantastic sounding board, a fantastic topic to discuss all sorts of things about the dream and reality and the mind and perception. And we wound up able to have a 2 or 3 hour conversation, long, detailed, really interesting conversation. But first we watched the movie Pleasantville and used that movie as the base of our discussion. And I highly recommend the same thing. These movies are not just something you should just watch alone and work with by yourself. These are great movies. The movies I've listed in Falling for Truth are the ones I'm doing here to get 5 or 10 people together and then watch the movie and have a full and open and deep discussion about what you've just seen and what the movie is presenting, and whether you agree with it, whether you disagree with it, whether there's ways you can go into more detail to find ways to test what the movie's theories are. Are they true or are they false? So we'll leave it there, and we'll catch you with the next analysis.